when you need to use a graph or create a graph for a dashboard or just to have a standalone graphed summary of data in a report, you have to create the report or copy and paste a report that you can add a graph to. So I'm going to start in the report wizard by clicking create report, and I'm going to create a really simple report that I can graph. So I'm going to do inventory by lot pie chart. I'm going to select the custom folder that I want to house this in. Now I've created a graph folder so that I have somewhere to put all my graphs, and that way I can go to one place and find graphs I want to use in dashboards later. Next, you're going to select the categories that you'll be using for your report. So for this one, I know I only need one category, and that's the inventory category. I'm going to sort this report by lot because I'm trying to find out how many vehicles I have in stock for each lot. And then I'm going to filter by company code first. I only need my sales company, so I'm going to equal 1. I'm going to filter by lot. No, by inventory, sorry. I want a tag that tells me what is in inventory. So this is my active inventory. I'm going to say that's true. And then I need to exclude anything that is a future trade. So I'm going to find future trade and say it equals false. Now I can go to the layout section, and here when you're creating a report to use for a graph, it doesn't matter how it's laid out. So if you're not inserting a graph in an existing report, when you get to this point you can just click finish. If you're just trying to create a graph that you're going to use for a dashboard, it doesn't matter how it's laid out right now. So you can get to the edit window, and when you're in the edit pane or edit window, you'll see you have your page header and your detail band. I don't really need my page header, it's just taking up space, so I'm going to left click and I'm going to delete the section. Now I have only my detail band, so I'm going to go over here and find the information I want to report on. First thing I'm going to need is a stock number, and then I need the lot that piece of inventory is housed at. That's all I need. I don't need anything else for this report, so I'm going to go ahead and delete the rest of the columns. I don't need that. It's just taking up space in my edit window. Now I am going to have a summary band, so I need a footer. So I'm going to click my detail section, and I'm going to add a group footer. Remember, when you're adding a footer, you have to, if it's a group footer, it has to be a sort first. So I have this report sorted by lot. So I'm going to select lot, and I'm going to click OK. Now I have my footer. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight that field, go to my formula editor, and here I'm going to get an aggregate count by lot. So I'm going to find my lot, or by stock number, sorry. Stock number. Add that in. You can double click, you can highlight and add. So we're getting an aggregate count of stock numbers because we want to report on how many vehicles are housed at each lot. And then I don't want to chart every time lot is mentioned in a report, so I'm not going to use the lot data that's in the detail band. I need one in the footer section. So you can either go over here, highlight, click add, double click to move it over, or click and drag, or you can highlight the data field, hold your control button on your keyboard, and drag it down, and now it made a copy of it. So now I need to figure out where I'm going to put my graph. Graphs are created in one single cell of a report. Graphs summarize information, so I'm going to need a footer in order to put my summary or my graph. So I'm going to go back to the detail section, left click, and add a report footer. Now if this is going to graph in one cell, that's going to be a very tiny graph if I try to put it in this one cell. So I know I'm going to need some more room. So I'm going to left click on row 3 and I'm going to insert some rows. Insert as many as you think you're going to need. You can always come back and add rows. Okay. Now I'm going to drag column A out just a little bit so I have a little more room. And then I'm going to highlight one cell in my footer section. I'm going to hold my shift button down on my keyboard and at the same time highlight the last cell I want to include. Now I have this big area and I'm going to click merge cells in my toolbar. Now here's the space that's going to house my graph. So to create the graph, I'm going to highlight that section and click Chart Wizard in the keyboard or in the toolbar. I have 3 tabs that I'm going to have to complete in order to build this graph. The first one, I'm going to select the type of chart. I'm going to do a 3D pie chart. And the dimensions you can play with once you create your chart because you don't know right now what's going to come out and what's not. I'm going to go ahead and increase this because I know from trial and error what it's going to be. And I'm going to decrease this one. You can select your default colors or the color theme for your report or your chart. You can scroll through, you can use Crayola colors, you can use grayscale if you'd like. You can go through and use the default. You could use sandstone. It's up to you what colors you want to use. Some people like muted, some people like brighter colors. And then you're going to say whether or not you want this chart to have a legend and where you want it. And then if you want to change the percent of the chart size, you can. I'm going to leave it at the default 30%. Now rather than click next and go to the labels tab, I'm going to start with move to the data tab next. And I'm going to determine what data I'm going to use for my chart. So anything that you have in your report can be used for your chart. So here I'm going to select from the footer section because I want the totals. I'm going to select my ag count for my data value, and for my data labels I'm going to select the lot. Over here I don't need to make any changes because it doesn't matter how I'm sorting. I can sort in ascending order, and then I don't need to exclude any values. And in my pie chart I don't want a category that's labeled other, so I'm just going to leave that at 0. Now I'm going to move to the labels tab, and this is where you can add a title if you want to add a title to your chart. So if you wanted it to say inventory by lot, and then you're going to put or format your labels. In my pie chart, am not going to put a chart label. I don't need one. You are welcome to use the data values or the data labels, so your stock numbers like the total count or the lot name or the lot code. If you want, you can put those and they will appear in each pie section of your graph or chart. I'm just going to stick with legend labels for this one, so I'm going to scroll over and use the drop arrow and say what I want to show up or what I want to tag in my legend. Well, I want the data label by data value, and then I want a percentage of it, but I only have the option to do a data label and then a percentage of the value. I know I need another piece of information right here, so how do I get it? The easiest way to do that, because I don't want to remember or try to figure out square brackets and typing, and I'm just going to go to this empty field in the chart labels, I'm going to select the data value, and I'm going to highlight it, Control C on my keyboard to copy it, and I'm going to insert that after my first colon by hitting Control V on my keyboard. And then I'm going to put a colon. And now I have the data that I need to tag or put in my legend. I can come up and delete the data value from the chart labels because I don't need that there. By all means, if you wanted the data label or the data value, you could put that there. And if you want to know what your data value would be, you can come back to the data and you can see that would be the count. So if I wanted something to appear in my chart, I could just select that and it would print the number of vehicles for each lot and it would show up on the pie chart. I'm going to click Finish now, and the system will drop the report into, or drop the graph into your report. So you can see here I've got the colors in my pie chart and the count of vehicles and then the percentage of the total for each lot in my company. You can suppress the data so that when you preview this, rather than having to go through all the lines of data for every vehicle you have in stock, you'll just see your chart. So to do that, left click on row 1 and suppress row, and do the same thing for your footer. And then when you preview, you'll see your pie chart only. Now you can create a report and drop a graph in at the summary in the footer section, and you can just leave it and don't suppress the rows of data, and you'll get all your data, and then you'll have a graph at the end of the report. So here you can see I've got all my information. I can go back and then I can save my chart. And now this chart or pie chart will be available when I'm ready to create dashboards. I can put an inventory pie chart out there and it will run real-time data for all the inventory I have per lot in my company.